Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas, dropped the curtain last week by accident and let the cat out of the bag. She let the alarming truth about what their Christian nationalist aims truly are. She let it all come out. And I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I remember a question Trump supporters always used to ask me in 2016 and even 2020 and 2024 when I stood firm against Trump and said I just couldn't stomach his anti Christian behavior, even though I had voted for every Republican presidential candidate before that during my whole life. But when Trump came along, I just couldn't do it anymore. And my Republican friends who are now MAGA, full on MAGA, they would always say, that thing about if you were taking a flight and the pilot was an atheist, but he was the best pilot around, would you take it or would you not because he doesn't share your religious views? Well, of course you would take it. I mean, you want the best pilot. That makes sense. But now they're twisting themselves into pretzels to keep going along with this because now you have a bunch of religious zealots running Republican states who aren't even the best at what they do. They're not the best governors. They're not the best administrators. They're not good at what they do. And I'm going to show you how bad they are at it in a couple of minutes. But Republicans seem to be saying that because they're such great Christians, they don't care that they've run the economies into the ground. They don't care that there's no health care. They don't care about all these things uh, because they're Christians. So they don't care that they're not good at flying the plane. I mean, apparently now they would take that flight with the least qualified but most Christian pilot. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders deserves the latest shout out in the alleged great Christians but not great governors category for standing up last week and proudly announcing that thanks to her efforts, she has now made Arkansas number one in religious liberty, which is code for number one in Christian nationalism, which is also code for making Christianity the only religion that's recognized by the state. So there you have it. I just boiled it down and made it so simple that even people from Rio Linda can understand it. Shout out to everyone in Rio Linda. How's Rush doing? I mean, ironic, right? That the most intelligent audience in all of talk radio now lives in Rio Linda. I'm going to show you all that and a revealing point in Governor Sarah's self congratulatory speech where she accidentally said the alarming truth out loud. Then we'll look at how well Arkansas is doing compared to some of its more liberal counterparts. And MAGA will find this very surprising. It's not something they're going to want you to hear. All right, I'm Jonathan Burton, and let's take a look at her big announcement where she basically proclaims Arkansas to be the most Christian state in the nation. I mean, if you can read between the lines, that's what you'll see. Check this out.
This is an issue that I care about deeply. As you all know, before my dad became governor, he was a pastor. When I was growing up, our church was more than a place that my dad went to work every day. It was more like a second home for our family. So many Arkansans feel the same way about their churches. It's more than just a place that you go on Sundays. It's the community and the fellowship with you at every point in your life.
All right, do you see that sign that says number one for religious liberty? Should that not say number one for Christian dominance? Because did you hear her mention any other religion there? Normally, when a politician talks about religious liberty, they are inclusive. They bring in all the religions. They say Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, everybody, atheists, belief, non-belief, whatever you have, you will be free to express your views without being persecuted for it. But what all she talked about there was Christianity and her upbringing in Christianity. Look, I'm a Christian. I do not hate Christianity. I don't hate the church. I love the church. I hate bad churches. I hate churches that do evil things. But there are churches that don't do evil things. So you just got to find that one, which I understand is pretty rare these days. But even as a Christian, I don't want this kind of thing where Christianity is dominant and that it rules society. I don't want that. None of us should want that. It's unbiblical. Jesus didn't want that. The apostles didn't want it. Paul didn't want it. None of the writers of the New Testament even talked about something like this, much less tell us to do it. They didn't even show us by their own example that they were doing it. They didn't do it. So there's no reason to think that we are supposed to make Christianity the sole and only religion in the country that's protected. Okay. And I'll tell you something else. Which version of Christianity, anyway, is going to be protected? Well, it's going to be their Christian nationalist version. What about the denominations and the groups in Christianity that don't believe in Christian nationalism? What about that? And at one point, here's a good example. At one point during her talk, I may not have clipped it out here, but at one point during her talk, she said that Jesus died for every human being. Well, there are groups within Christianity, Reformed groups, that don't believe that. They don't believe Jesus died for every single person. They believe Jesus died for those whom God chose for salvation. And why would he die for people he didn't choose for salvation? So there are different beliefs based on that. Would that group be X'd out and persecuted? You can bet. You can bet any group that doesn't agree with them on everything, that doesn't pass their purity test, will be X'd out. And Catholics, I see some of you supporting all this. They are coming after you first. They really have it out for the Catholics. They're not saying it yet, but just wait till they get more power. Just wait till they get more power. You'll see.
Thanks to the law I signed last year, we began placing copies of the Ten Commandments in classrooms and state buildings, despite liberal activists, lawsuits trying to stop us.
Okay, so liberals are always the enemy, right? Look, I love the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are a foundational part of Christianity. Um, but I don't want the government putting them in schools. And how can the government do this? What if the Muslims come along and say, "Hey, you put the Ten Commandments in the schools, why can't we put the Shahada? Our declaration that there's only one God and his name is Allah and Muhammad is his prophet." What if we want to put that in there? What if we want to post the five pillars of Islam? Well, if you're posting the Ten Commandments, how can you then turn and say to them, "But no, you can't post yours. You can't post what's important to you"? Because at that point, you got to say, "This is a Christian country and you are illegal here because you're not a Christian." That's basically what you have to say. You have to say you're not protected. You don't have the same rights as the majority religion. But it's not even the majority religion. A majority of people in America are not genuine Christians. So yeah, it's just how can a Christian, in all fairness, go to somebody and say, "Look, I'm going to post my thing, but I'm not going to allow you to post yours"? You can't do that. It will never pass muster in any court, not even the John Roberts Supreme Court.
And as Jesus commanded his disciples when he told them to spread the good news, there are people who will arrest you and try to take you to be judged. You will stand before governors and kings. But if you stand before others and are willing to say that you believe in me, then I will tell my Father in heaven that you belong to me. Jesus commands us to live out our faith boldly.
I mean, just even think about what she's saying. Jesus said, "If you stand firm for me, you may be arrested and brought before judges and governors." Now, she's the governor, and she's saying, "No, in this country, Christians rule. We will bring others before the courts and the judges for not being Christian and for going against Christianity." That's what she's saying. This is the antithesis of biblical Christianity. Biblical Christianity is rooted in human weakness, in the weakness of the believers and followers of Christ. Christ is our strength. We are weak. We don't look to government to be our strength. They tried that, you know, in Roman times when the Catholic Church became the religion of the Roman Empire, and look how that worked out. It was a disaster for Christian faith. You had a bunch of fake Christians running around trying pretending to be Christian, and they were nothing more than Pharisees. They had high ranks. People looked up to them when they walked through the streets, and most Protestants have always known that was a disaster for true Christianity. Now they want that. It's unbelievable, really, the change that's gone on in this country in Christianity over the last 50 years. It's really, really amazing.
And in this administration, we don't just believe that Jesus is our living hope. We will always stand up for the rights of Arkansans who believe the same.
Did you hear that? What did she say? We'll always stand up for the rights of who? Of those who believe Jesus is their living hope. I got to play this one again. Listen to this.
And in this administration, we don't just believe that Jesus is our living hope. We will always stand up for the rights of Arkansans who believe the same.
So we'll always stand up for the rights of the people who are our fellow citizens who believe the same, who believe that Jesus is their living hope. So is she, as the governor of the entire state, which is not all Christian, even Arkansas is not all Christian, is she not going to stand up for those who don't believe the same, who don't believe Jesus is their living hope? Jesus is my living hope. I believe that. I want our government to stand up for the rights of everyone, no matter what they believe or don't believe. This is just wrong. It's wrong. It's so misplaced. Look, the realm of the Christian is in the church. If you want to have a place where you as a Christian can rule and have some authority over others, it's in the church, not in the secular government, not in the civil government. That's not the church. It's a big mixing up of I don't know what you call it, realms. But this is not the realm of Christianity at all. This is the realm of the civil government.
I want to again thank First Liberty for recognizing Arkansas's work and for honoring us with this ranking. It's something we are very proud of and will continue to make sure we stay number one.
Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, by the way. And she is very proud of this.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Okay, look, she said we'll open up for questions. Now they're going to applaud the media in the room. There will be no questions. And then she'll say, thank you. I didn't think there should be questions. It should be understandable without further explanation being necessary. When have you ever heard a politician in the United States stand up and say, we are basically going to rule this state as a Christian state, and the press has no questions? When have you ever seen that? But then listen closely to what she says at the very end. It's stunning. Stunning what she really wants out of all this. Listen closely. This is where they're supposed to be asking questions, but instead they're applauding.
We're also happy to just let all of that information stand on its own, too. Perfect. Even better. Make sure that headline reads just how we want it to. Arkansas ranked number one.
Did you hear that? Make sure this headline reads just as we want it. Arkansas ranks as number one.
Make sure that headline reads just how we want it to. Arkansas ranked number one.
That's what it's all about. Give us the headline, baby. We're here for the headline. We don't care about Jesus. We don't care about really being Christian. We just want the headline because we want our voters to think we're on their side, to think we're as fundamentalists, whatever Baptists in Arkansas as they are, right? And she's obviously, I think, trying to appeal to MAGA voters across the country by saying, make sure people know Arkansas is the most Christian state. So if I ever want to run for president, I can tout that and say, I made Arkansas Christian. Amazing, right? Well, let's see. So they're the number one Christian state. Let's see what else they rank number one in. Let's look at personal income, shall we? All right, Arkansas, this is how good the pilot is. Is the pilot so competent that you're willing to put up with whatever his religious beliefs are? Check this out, Arkansas, real GDP in 2025 and personal income per person. Now, what I'm doing, I'm ranking Arkansas against other states that have similar political makeups, except in the mirror version, like in the mirror, right? Like it's reversed. So Arkansas is 80 something percent. Their Senate is 80% Republican, 83, something like that. Their House is 80 something percent Republican, and the governor is Republican, and they've had this Republican leadership for decades. Okay. Now, we're going to match it up against 3 other states that have the exact same makeup, except it's Democrats in power instead of Republicans. And let's see who does best, Democrat states or Republican states. These are hardcore. Arkansas is hardcore Republican. These 3 are hardcore Democrat: Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Hawaii. And they all have the exact same makeup. They all have over 80% Democrat majorities in their House and Senate, and they all have Democrat governors, and they've all had this for a long, long time, many years. Okay, so Arkansas should do very well because Republicans tell us that you know, if you are ruled by conservative principles, as Arkansas has been for decades, that you will do way better than liberal states because liberal states are messed up and they're communist and they're evil. Now let's see how evil they are. Arkansas, average per capita income, $61,752. That's respectable. Massachusetts, though, look at that, $97,000 plus dollars. Rhode Island, 73, almost $74,000, and Hawaii, 76,592. Excuse me if I'm reading this wrong, but these 3 numbers are higher than this one, right? How is that possible that the Christian conservative state is at the bottom of the list? I don't know why I have them on the top here, but they're at the bottom of the list. All right. Well, okay, let's look at government employment, because surely the level of government employment in Arkansas will be far less than in these liberal Democrat states, the meccas for big government, right? Okay. Oh, I put Mississippi in here too, because it's pretty interesting. Arkansas has 15.21% of their non-farm payroll is government work. 15.21% of their people who don't work on farms work for government. Mississippi, it's almost 20%, 19.8%. Rhode Island, liberal Rhode Island, very huge government in Rhode Island. Oh, no, wait, look. Oh, 12.5% of their workforce is with the government. That's it. 12.5. Why, that's less than Arkansas and Mississippi. How's that possible? Conservatives love small government and liberals love massive government. What's going on? Okay, Connecticut 13.6%, Delaware 14.3, and California, the biggest loser of all, 14.75% of their employees work for government. It's crazy, right? It's like, what's going on here? All right, okay. Well, crime. Arkansas's got to rate at the top in crime, right? I mean, it's a Christian state. All the people are Christians there, so they treat each other like Christians. So it's going to be very high. And it is high. I have it on the top of my list. Here we have over in the right column, 2024, the latest full year figures available. Violent crime in Arkansas, 579 per 100,000. Oh, am I reading these numbers right? Or are my eyes going fluky? Massachusetts, only 315 per 100,000. What's going on? Aren't these the states that said defund the police? Hawaii, 218. Rhode Island, only 154 crimes per 100,000. And Christian Arkansas, 579. They need to put those 10 commandments not only in the schools, but in every home and bedroom in the state, it looks like to me. Because I don't know if being in the school is going to be enough for this kind of crime. Oh, and property crime. It's not just violent crime, but look, property crime, they are second out of 4. There's actually one higher than them. But 1,930 property crimes per 100,000 Arkansans. What's the word for Massachusetts? I don't know. I'm not going to even try. 1,112 crimes in Massachusetts per 100,000. But Hawaii, 1,947. That could be because of Arkansans who travel to Hawaii for vacation and they commit their crimes there while on vacation, possibly. Rhode Island, 1,032. Rhode Island is almost half of Arkansas. Pretty incredible, huh? I mean, on every measure, Arkansas that you would expect to be doing great because that's what conservatives excel at, the economy, low, small government and low crime. But keep in mind, all these states have had the party that's in power has been in power for a very long time in all four of these states. And the Democrats come out on top on every single category. All right. I wouldn't believe that 10 years ago, but since Trump shook things up and got me thinking about why am I supporting him or why am I supporting Republicans if they all believe what he's pushing now? And I started questioning things and I started seeing things and realizing, whoa, things aren't exactly what we've been told all that time from all the uh, MAGA propagandists in pre-MAGA days. All right. Anyway, well, I guess MAGA is okay now with having the least competent pilot as long as they're good Christian soldiers. So, yeah, maybe now it's time to hold our president up to an actual Christian standard. And by that measure, he falls completely flat. But there's one more story where Sarah Huckabee Sanders had a chance as a Christian woman to shine, but she's fallen flat there as well. A 23-year-old black man was convicted of aggravated robbery in 1981. He had some bad stuff in his background, including several prior convictions. He carried a gun to the robbery, but he didn't shoot it. No one was hurt. No one was hurt physically. He did steal some money from them, and he scared them to death. But he didn't actually hurt them. No shots were fired. And despite this, he was convicted in 1981 in Arkansas and sentenced to life in prison, which seems rather harsh for a robbery, even, with a gun. But I understand you're tough on crime. So that's the way it goes. But for years, his family has advocated for his release, saying he's changed during his time in prison, deserves another opportunity. Don't the families always say that? Last year, though, members of his family filed multiple writs of mandamus seeking a review of his case and an opportunity for him, his last name is Lovelace, to appear before the Arkansas Post Prison Transfer Board, as they are called. And they are the board, like I guess most states would call them the parole board. They decide if you can get out early. And in this case, he was sentenced to life, but it wasn't mandatory life. So he could get out early. The highest sentence for regular robbery, his was aggravated robbery because he had a gun. Normal robbery, the highest sentence is 40 years. So he's done 45 years already. Okay. So anyway, they brought this to the post prison transfer board and pursued clemency or parole consideration, like don't pardon him, but give him parole and let him out. All right. So public records show the transfer board voted in last November 2025, to recommend Lovelace's commutation request with merit, meaning they believed that based on his time in prison, he was deserving of being released and they did not think he would harm the community any longer. All right. He's been in prison, like I said, 45 years. He's now 68 years old. The governor in Arkansas has the final say. And do you think this governor chose to show any Christian compassion or mercy on this man, whom the transfer board has deemed worthy of release and deemed not to be a danger any longer to society? Of course not. She had none, no mercy at all, because that's not what Christian nationalists do. They don't show mercy. Uh, to them, empathy is a sin. So now he was unquestionably a bad guy. I believe that. He was a bad guy. He was deserving of a very stiff sentence, and he got it, and he served it. But I don't know. I can't say that he's deserving of a life sentence, especially in light of the fact that he didn't actually hurt anyone physically, thankfully. But even though he's now served longer than most burglars ever serve in Arkansas, and is facing the rest of his life in prison, she can't bring herself to show any mercy to him. Now, you can make an argument that she's doing the right thing, that she's tough on crime. And, I'm a former conservative. I'm sympathetic to that argument. But if you believe she's doing the right thing, here's the problem. Then you should be stunned by the hypocrisy of her staunch and unyielding support of the President of the United States, who has pardoned people who were directly responsible for a combined total of, get this, more than 20 murders and hundreds of tons of cocaine trafficked into the United States, which the president says kills thousands of people, uh, massive money laundering schemes, attempted overthrow of the government of the United States, and entering more than 100 law enforcement officers on January 6th. So, if she's so much for law and order, why does she still support this president after he's pardoned all these seriously hardened criminals? You know, he's pardoned the most hardened serious criminals in our history, and that doesn't bother her a bit. So if that doesn't bother her, why can't she show a little mercy to this poor man who has more than paid his debt to society? And the parole board says, he's good to go. He's not going to hurt anybody anymore. We've seen him for 45 years. We've seen him change. You know, 45 years. He probably stole like $50, who knows? And and his crimes pale in comparison to the crimes of the people the president she adores has pardoned. Amazing, right? Unbelievable. All right. Well, that's something to think about. I appreciate you watching. Give it some thought, share it with some friends, and leave me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. All right. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Take care.